Hello and welcome to Vegas Aces. My name is Heather Ferris and I'll be your host for today. We are going to be doing something really fun. I love these videos. We are going to be doing casino stories, and I have two guests here that are going to be joining me and telling me their stories. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves and give a plug?
Age before beauty.
Go for it, Jay.
Oh no, John's the older one. Maybe he should go first. So.
No, you go first, Jay. It's all good.
All right. Hi, my name is Jay. I've been on Heather's channel a couple times already. This is I don't know how many times I've been on Heather actually, but I am up in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and I've been in the industry for about 22 years now. Yeah. I am part-time right now. I do work full-time in the hospital. However, I am still working for a company. I have been called back, but they don't really need me right now. Not all the table games are operating. So once I get back, yeah, I'll be going on my 23rd year. So.
Wow, 23 years. Oh my God, that's cool. And John, you want to go next?
Sure. My name's John Holland. I'm up in Edmonton. I was in casinos for 19 years. I lived in 4 different countries, spent 6 years on cruise ships, so I had a pretty wild time, and there was quite a lot of stories. Some I can say, some I can't. I've been out of the business for about 15 years, but I just kind of still like it and enjoy hanging around the people that still work in casinos.
Okay, so you got to tell us the stories you can't say. I want to hear those stories first and foremost.
Oh, there's lots.
So let's get this party started, because I always love these live streams and I just want to get right into them. And first, now the question I get asked a lot is what stories do you have about people like cheating on your table?
Oh. Yeah, John, maybe you should go and take this one.
Okay, I have one. So I used to deal in a casino in Bristol, which is in England. And back in Britain, we used to have baccarat. They used to call it punta banco, and they had 10-cent chips on it because they would pay 19 to 20 with the full odds. So anyway, so this player comes up, and he was a well-known regular, and he was kind of seedy, and he had a fistful of these 10-cent chips. So, I mean, and essentially he was playing with them because back then you weren't allowed to tip the dealers. And as he was playing, and he was stood right next to me, and I'm dealing, and I'm looking at him, hang on a minute, he's just stolen all those 10-cent chips back. So he played them. I'd stacked them up when I wasn't looking. He reached down and he stole them to play him again. And I was like, what? So I told the guy sitting box, my friend, I said, he just stole the 10-cent chips back. He's like, no, he never. He goes, I said, yeah, watch this. I said, you punched me. He's like, what? I said, you punched me. So I told the boxman that he punched me, and then we got him banned for being violent against the dealer. He was going, no, I didn't. And all the players going, I didn't see it. So we called security, and security came over, and he was shouting and screaming at me. He's like, I'm going to kill you. When I see you outside, I'm going to kill you. And he was about a 60-year-old guy, and he was frail. And I was like, go ahead, don't hit me again. So he was shouting, he swearing. Security took him outside, and about 2 weeks later, I was walking down the high street in Bristol near my friend, and I was like, "Hey, look who that is!" And as we're walking up the street, he was walking towards me, and as soon as he saw me, he went, and then run in a store, and hid in the store. I wasn't going to do anything, but he just ran and hid in the store. So that was the first one I can remember of somebody cheating on a table.
Oh my God, that's funny. Jay, how about you? Do you can you think of anything?
I do have some, but just because I'm technically employed, I'm probably not supposed to be divulging any of them. So it's really hard for me to kind of talk about it.
Do you have any from casinos you don't work at anymore?
Well, when I used to, yeah, they're not really bad ones, but as a dealer, I'd be dealing blackjack. There was one time where there was this guy cheating, and all he was doing was he was just pressing his bet, and he thought I wasn't watching. but basically kind of tipped off the pit boss or floor supervisor, and I just said like, this guy's cheating. It's just like, okay, well, we'll just keep an eye on it. And I didn't know what to do because I was a new dealer. So then I just be dealing, and I saw him do that. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? This guy's cheating over here. And I should have said that because what they wanted to do was see him do it in the act, right? But I'm like, hey, this guy right here, what are you doing? So then, like, when I got relieved at the table, and the floor was like, yeah, next time don't really tip the player off when you know that they're cheating. I'm like, yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, freaking awesome. Yeah, for any new dealers who are watching, that's actually fantastic advice. If you know someone's cheating or anything like that, don't yell it. Don't scream it. Don't anything like that. Tell your floor supervisor discreetly, so that way they could put the camera on them, they could watch them for a while, and they can actually get evidence of the person cheating. That's what you want. You want them to get evidence of them cheating. So don't yell it. Don't let them know you know what's going on. Just notify your floor supervisor discreetly. He'll put the camera on them, and they'll try to gain as much evidence as they can. Oh my goodness. Now, do you guys have any stories about card counters? So while you guys are thinking about it, for example, my story for card counting is I had this guy on my table, and he was card counting and everything. And he, asked me, hey, do you think the casino is going to care that I'm card counting? And I'm like, dude, you're on a table with a continuous shuffle machine. Count all you want. Have fun. Like, you're not on the right table for that. Okay, sure, whatever.
That's a good one.
How about you guys?
John?
Jay, you go first.
Yeah, well, so here I'm an acting floor supervisor at this casino, and there's this guy, and he was counting, and I was going out with this really pretty girl at the time, and she ended up in high limit a few times when she was dealing, and then she'd be dealing to him. And this guy, like, we knew he was a counter. They said, don't worry about it. We're monitoring him. And I'd be like, okay. They weren't really like hardcore on, just like banning players and whatnot. They did like an analysis back then. But yeah, like every time I would be around, I would see this guy, and then he'd just be like flirting with my girlfriend at the time. So then I would come up, and every time I come up, it'd be like, cut half the deck every time. And he'd just be like, bro, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not your bro, okay? Half the deck. And I would always do that. And it's like, he's such a nice guy too in the end. But for me, I was just like so mad. I'm like, who are you talking to? Just cut half the deck. And I was just, abuse of power there. And I really shouldn't have done that before. But I ended up like moving up too. So then every time, even if I wasn't in the pit, I would just come in and I'd just be like, half the deck. I was always I don't care. It's like so bad.
Oh,
so
man.
I'm sorry to you, person that I'm referring to. Maybe he still is online and whatnot. But that's why. Don't do that ever again.
John, how about you? Do you have a story?
It kind of goes in line with your story, Heather. I was working on a cruise ship. It was doing like going to San Juan in the Caribbean for 7 days. And there was this guy, and he came in, and it was like the first night. And there was this one particular blackjack, and the limits are not big, but this one particular blackjack blew up, and everybody was winning, and it all had been fun, and the dealers are making fun, like lots of money, and it was just really good. And this guy kept standing behind the table, and he was super loud, and he kept saying, "I'm a card counter. There's something wrong with this shoe. There's not enough. They've been playing with this shoe. They're cheating us." And I was a pit manager, and I was like, "Dude, do you realize everybody's winning? How if we're cheating?" We're doing it really badly because everybody's making money, including the dealer, and not the table. He's like, I don't believe you. No, this is not right. I'm coming back. When do you close? I was like, We close at like 2 o'clock in the morning. If you want to come back, you can see the shoe. But look, everybody's winning. Nobody's going anywhere. And he's like, I'm coming back. So we came back at like 2:30, and by this point the table had closed, and we sorted the shoe. And he was like, "What are you doing? I wanted to check the shoe." I was like, "Dude, man, the table lost for 5 hours. What are you talking about?" I was like, "You can come back tomorrow, and you can check the shoe when we open up." Sorry, but yeah, so some people are crazy.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me of this one player who swore to God that I had a magnet under my roulette table and he wanted to check it. And I'm like, dude, you can't go crawling under there. That's not allowed. No.
I had, okay, well, a couple stories here. There was one that John's story just kind of reminded me of this one time when I was just on the ships. It's not really a card counting one, although there's a reference to it. But there's this guy from New York, and he came in, and he's just sitting on blackjack. And we come around, and he's holding his baby. Like, and he's in the casino, like in the afternoon, holding a baby. And then the supervisor comes, it's like, "Sir, you can't have a baby here in the casino." And he got so mad, and he's like, "What's the problem? Is the baby counting cards or something? You think the baby's counting cards? What's the count? What's the count? This baby? You think this baby's counting cards? Come on, guys." I was just like, oh my God. Anyways.
Oh my, some people.
Yeah. I can't remember the second story I was going to mention, but that one was just hilarious with the guy. It was just like, oh my God. Well, like, we're all standing around watching him, and I'm like, oh my God.
What was the other story you
I'm trying to think of what I was gonna say because it was pretty funny too. But that first one, I completely forgot now. I just saw my mind's blank here. But if I remember, then I'll bring it up again.
Okay, sounds good. So my next question is, have you guys seen any naked people in the casinos? Recently we had a naked man carrying his clothes, like actually, naked, full naked. And he had like a pile of clothes he was carrying, and he was like holding it in front of the one area that mattered. And he walked right into the poker room, and he literally asked to buy in and sit down at a game. Like, what? So of course people are taking pictures and everything, and security comes and they're like, "Oh dude, like, what are you doing?" So do you guys have any stories like that of any naked people in the casino? Or possibly anything sexual too? That works too.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I like the way you said that. Well, yeah.
I mean, well, John, like, so for those of you that don't know, John and I worked together at the Palace Casino, and it was the largest mall at one point in the world. Still the largest mall in the Americas. So there was the casino on the second deck in this mall, and they ended up building a nightclub right beside it. So all of the things that we would see in surveillance, because like I had a license at the time, so then they would be like, "You need to see this. You need to see this." I'm like, "Do I?" It's like, "Yes, please come in." So like we had access, and we would watch videos. And Halloween would be one of the days where you would see a lot of activities going on in our parking lot, just because we shared a parking lot. So there was a lot of stuff going on. And yeah, I mean, if a lot of girls in like fairy suits needed to relieve themselves, what better place than just outside of the poker room? And there's a camera there because the poker room was 24 hours. So they didn't realize that. So there's a lot of videos on stuff like that.
Oh my goodness.
And there's more. I mean, like there's videos of like people doing it in the stairways. And Heather, I know you have stories of that as well. So
I have a ton of stories. I bet that's one of the things that security enjoys, I guess, the most is looking at the cameras in the elevators, because that seems to be the area that people tend to, How about you, John?
I was on. For people who don't know, there's typically like these are formal nights on the cruise ships where everyone would dress up in their tuxedos and things like that. So the deal would be into tuxedos and the guests and all that kind of stuff. And there was this one night, and there was this couple, these two guys. They came on and they were fun, and they were really loud and over the top. And when it came to this formal night, they came in and they walked through the casino, and from the top up, they had like this beautiful tuxedo jacket on, and shirt and tie, and it just looked immaculate. But from the waist down, they were nude, and they just had like a G-string on, and it was like a secret. And so they would walk around, and because they come up to the craps table, we could just see them from the waist up, and you're like, oh, it's perfectly normal. But then they walk away, and all we see with this nude butt walking through, and the captain got so annoyed because he was like on they usually have dinner with the captain, and he'll go into the dining room. He got so annoyed. He told like security, they need to get pants off or they're getting off tomorrow. He was going to boot them off the ship the following morning. It was so funny. Let's see these guys. They just didn't care. They just walking through the casino like in a formal song.
Oh my God. And I've seen some people like down on the Strip and on Fremont Street, and there are some guys that have no problem wearing a thong like in a huge public area, and they just strut their stuff and show everything, and they're proud of every ounce of it. Every single ounce. So my next question is oh, I had a good one too. Do you guys have any stories on celebrities? So, and you don't have to say the celebrity's name, because I know that'll get some people in trouble. But my celebrity story, for example, was I was at the Hard Rock, and I don't care if I say the Hard Rock because it's defunct now. I used to work at the Hard Rock. It was graveyard. I'm going on break, and the celebrity is there, and she is, basically only known for her celebrityness, and she's one of those beautiful women that are sort of snobby. So she's walking in front of me. She's drunk as a skunk. She trips and falls flat on her face. Skirt goes over her head. No underwear on at all. And she's so drunk that she can't get herself back up. So I'm looking at her bodyguards, and her bodyguards aren't doing anything to help her up. They're just standing there. And finally, a cocktail waitress comes over and helps her up. And she's like, don't touch me. You just want to touch a celebrity. Get away from me. And then she stumbles away. And I look at her security guard dude, and I'm like, what the just happened? And he's like, that's why we're not supposed to touch her or help her or do anything like that. We're just here to watch her and make sure that nobody hurts her. She does that every single time. We had one guy that tried to help her up, and he got fired. So wow. So that's my story. How about you guys?
I really want to know who that celebrity is.
I'll tell you after.
Okay. Cool. For me, I mean, there aren't too many that. Well, there aren't a lot I can really say just because of the confidentiality. However, we did have a hockey player once, and he was a big boy, basically. He was, I could say he was a defenseman, and he played for our team, and he's really good, and he made a lot of money. And I got to deal blackjack to him, and the guy would shoot the table and whatnot, and he didn't care, which was really cool, right? Because it was just oh, good. You're trying to talk to him, and then he's just quiet. But I kind of cleaned him out one shoe, and he's just whatever. He goes in his pocket, and he just reaches out, and it's this big brown pile of poo $100 bills, because our hundreds are brown, right? So it's just boom. Okay, let's just try it again. And I was just color change or money change, and I'm just holy cow. And it's the first time that I'm kind of in awe of okay, this guy's shooting it. Had his own table, and then after he's done playing, they were just asking, hey, are you hungry? He's like, yeah, for sure. So he goes upstairs, and he was watching another hockey game, but he had 3 tables full of food. And I've never seen anybody order so much food. But he had all of these plates at all the tables and 2 drinks, and he was just eating so much. And I'm like, holy crap, I want to be that guy. That guy was so crazy.
Oh my God, that sounds awesome.
Oh, he was awesome. He actually tipped. But
oh,
yeah,
cool.
He was such a cool guy. And it's like a dream player where it's just oh well, whatever, right? It didn't matter if he was winning or losing, but for me, like at the time, like it wasn't like it was a lot of money, but to see it like for the first time, like that much, I was like, huh, oh my god, that's like, can I borrow some? Yeah.
Totally. How about you, John?
I remember one of the, like, I'll go back onto the cruise ships. There was this one singer, and she was one of like the patrons of one of the ships that were like when they brought it out, one of the older ones anyway, for Royal Caribbean. She was a patron, and her son got caught trying to steal, fraudulently use somebody else's bar card in the gift shop that wasn't his, wasn't his family's. I was trying to buy something like a couple of $1,000 watch, and it wasn't his, like it wasn't his parents. He was just trying to fraudulently, and they had to come. They caught. They didn't know who he was. You know, it's like this kid. He was under 18, and so they had to come up to the casino and say, because all their like posse was there as well, and they had to come into the casino. And she wasn't even a big player. Like she'd play like $5 blackjack, $10 blackjack, whatever, and say, "Yeah, your son's been arrested by the security guards for stealing from the gift shop. do you want to come and bail him out?" And she was like the patron saint. It was so funny. It was like really embarrassing. It was like everybody knew about it. Like, oh, what? What does she like sheepishly leave the table to go and like bail her sketchy son out of stealing from the gift shop?
Was she totally red?
Oh
I
my God,
would
it
have
was.
died. Oh man. And have you guys ever had any players or even dealers or floormen who were like really, really superstitious? Anything that stands out of your mind with like superstitious doings, sayings, anything like that?
I worked for one. He was literally crazy. He had his own lucky dice that he kept in his fridge in his cabin. He told a dealer once to throw the shoe off the table because it was losing. He said, "If you don't do it, I'll fire you." Yeah, there's lots of crazy people. He would change the stick every couple of rolls if you didn't call like 7 outs. He would, if you did call 7 outs, he used to call it singing. They used to call it singing years ago for British people anyway. He'd be like, if you're on a stick and kept calling winners, he'd say, "Oh, you're singing," and he'd be getting so mad. He goes, "Get that Welsh guy off stick! He can't stop singing." And then you get pulled off and you get benched off tables because you can't call a loser. What are you doing? Yeah. So, and he would even, this is how crazy he was. If one night it won, he would go to work the same way every day until it lost. Then he would figure out another way to go to work. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. I think there's as many people who are superstitious who gamble as there are people who work in casinos who are just as superstitious too. I met lots of managers that are like, "Oh, I always have to stop at this stop because we won last time today." It's just crazy.
Yeah. No, I had floor supervisors who sweated the money, which is pretty much the same as being superstitious, because then they're like, "Oh, do this or do that," and they're trying to change the cards, or they think, "Oh, maybe if I switch the dealer, that will change it." And it's like, dude, man, you need to stop. Really. That's old school though. That's like 90s, early 2000s.
Oh,
How about you guys?
Yeah, well, this one's not really so old school. There was this guy that was beating us up on he was beating us up like high limit. You can talk baccarat, craps, blackjack, or whatever this person was playing was just killing us. So one of the executive hosts started to like try to put like cards of like sevens underneath the dice table. We had this dinner gala, which was for excellence and customer service. So we had some of our staff that were part of that. And we ended up grabbing one of the signs because they had these huge signs there at the banquet, and it had certain areas. So like this section was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I grabbed the 7 and we kept it under the table just for no reason whatsoever. It's just like, yeah, let's just be superstitious now. But none of us were, except like maybe the business person, but I have the sign. I still, and I'm really
You
bad at
still
this.
have
If you guys know, like you've like, because Heather, you've been on our channel as well, and on our show, and a lot of the time, like I have a lot of things and I keep them, and I'm really bad, like a pack rat, but I do have that huge sign, and I'll have to show you one day because it's in my basement, but it's this huge 7. And we ended up just like putting it under the dice table and didn't tell anybody about it. And of course, it didn't work. It didn't work, but it's pretty funny that we did that. It was just for fun, right? So
Oh man, that is pretty funny.
yeah,
The first table I worked on, craps table back in Cardiff, like long time ago, in Britain, like 2 plates double and in a field, 2 plates double and 12 plates triple, right? And the owner, who's crazy, said, "Oh, I wanted to say pay 7." So what he did is he said pays even, but it was really close to 7, really close together, so it looks like pay 7. So he thought that would be unlucky. Yeah. So and he was like, "What?" Yeah, it just made no sense at all. Like, okay, you own the place, you can put whatever you want on the top.
Oh man, people are very interesting. I had one guy who he thought it was unlucky for the dealer to touch his money before the cards came out, but he would leave his chips in this sloppy ass pile, so I had no choice. I had to straighten it up because you have to actually see what you have. The camera has to, you can't have like a pile, literally a pile of chips. You have to have a stack of chips. And then he would yell at me and tell me like how unlucky that was and I was going to make him lose and everything. And I'm like, well, clean up your freaking pile.
We, I used to deal to this player, and he didn't have any money, but he was just, like really superstitious back in Cardiff. He would stay in the bar till 10:25, and it was back then. It was like the bar used to close at 11, so he used to stay there till 10:25. He'd come to the table. He would refuse the dice 3 times around, and then you would buy in for, I think it was like £100, $100, whatever, that kind of amount. Nothing really. And then he would just smash the dice till he got a 3 and a 1, and then he would throw them. But every come up roll, he used to say the same bet, even though it didn't make any sense, because it would say 50 crap, $11 the line. And people were like, okay. I mean, we call the bet up normally. Nobody else used to call that bet, but he would always call that bet for his come up roll bet. And we were like, man, we used to call him he had a mustache and he was an older guy. And we used to call him No Cash Tash because he was just annoying. And he had a mustache. Yeah.
And okay, so the last question, this is the last story of the video. Have you guys ever experienced someone, do you know what a stroker is? Like, do you guys have that terminology up there? Do you know? Okay, so a stroker is someone who walks around the casino looking for inexperienced or sloppy dealers, and then they go and they take advantage of those dealers so they make more money. Have you ever experienced anything like that?
When I was a trainee, back where I'm from, they're all, experienced. And like I said, we had roulette's the prominent game in Britain. And, the place I worked in, we had 20 tables and 12 of them were roulettes. And they were all regulars, and they would go flies around honey. As soon as they saw that, oh, he's new, let's go to him. And they would all swarm on you. And when you were a new dealer, you're like, oh, man, they're just going to tear me apart because they know I'm going to make mistakes. And these guys were just terrible. But they knew after a while, you're like, yeah. Once you get to know them, you're like, yeah, I know exactly what you're trying to do. Go.
You wise up. How about you, Jay?
Well, I think the only times that I've kind of experienced that was when I'm the new dealer. So I think the worst time that like I had any like issues with players was when I was dealing poker, and it was just the first like few days because we ended up going through the training and whatnot, and they just threw us on like the day after, and it was like, oh my god, this is ridiculous. Our baccarat training at the time was only a day. Our poker training was like maybe a week tops, and we were just kind of thrown into the fire. So you could see a lot of people just try to take advantage because they're just kind of going out of turn and whatnot. But I just remember dealing. It was I know exactly the game because I jumped in the afternoon. I'm like, oh my god, I don't want to be here. Like, and this like I knew. I'll tell you this. Like, I learned craps and Paigao tiles before any of the other games. Roulette was like the last game that I learned, and poker was in the middle. So when I got on there, I was just like, oh really? Just don't want to deal with this game. I sit down, and like the first hand, I did a misdeal, and like all of a sudden, it's like this guy sucks. Over here. And I'm like, oh god, I'm so sorry. And I had to deal like they put me in 10 shifts in a row because that was our probationary period. So I'm like, oh my god. After the first hand, like the very first hand, it was like just hell for me. And I'm like, oh my god, I can't do this. And it was a bunch of like guys in their like 70s and 80s, and this is their game. They've been there like, every afternoon. So they're the regulars, and then, they just got into like all these arguments and whatnot. But then you can tell like some other people knew that I was new. So then they would come in and they would like bet out a turn and like do everything just to be like annoying, right? So it's like, okay. Thanks for that.
Even the dealers like stroked you basically.
Pretty much.
They'd always used to ask for like when I was like on roulette, and they knew you because you'd be shaking like that and the bets are like that. But they would always ask for like weird payouts. You know what I mean? Just give me. Back then we used to have. It was weird in this casino I worked in. They used to call 25. We had 25-cent roulette and up to whatever they wanted to play. But they used to call 25 cents or dollars. I don't know why. But they'd always call them dollars, right? So 50 cents, dollars was 25 cents. And you get people like, I want $42 in a cash payout. And you're like, what? Just because they were trying to mess with your head and just like be a pain. But and then, it'd be like, what?
They do that on craps. Yeah, they do that on roulette. They do that on craps. Same thing happened to me when I was on craps. I had this guy come up to my table, and he's what was it? It was like a 36 and 8, So I put 30 on the 6, 30 on the 8. He hits an 8 and he's like, what the hell are you doing? I said 60 on the 8, not, so, and my fault, I did not book the bet. So because I didn't book the bet, my floor supervisor gave it to him, and I learned how important it is to book the bet that day. So.
Yeah.
We used to have, in this back when I first trained, just because this guy was he was about 5 foot tall, and he was like this little old Jewish guy, and everyone we used to call him Albert the Boss. And he came in and he would place like 1 unit across minimum, and bear in mind our minimum was like $1.50, multiples of $1.50 on 6 and 8, and $1.25 on a 5 and 9, 250s on a 4 and 10s, and he would press by a unit up to whenever they went. So, and he would like the 25-cent chips, that would be his odds, and he would stack them up to whatever. But he knew if you messed up, he would go ballistic. Absolutely, he would lose his mind. And like he was only short, you're like, hi, he's a sweet old man, and he'd come in, and if you messed up his one press, he'd be like, bro, he was just like this crazy lunatic. We're like. And to be honest, when I got more experience, I could deal to him all the time. I just used to do it on purpose just to get him mad. He'd be like, oh, man, come on, man, I'm just joking with you. Here's your money. But yeah, he would terrify dealers. He would be like, and he'd be the only one. He would only come in, and he would intentionally come in first thing the table opened so he could be on his own to play. But yeah, when he got busy, he was terrible.
Oh man, I would really love to keep you guys here all day and like talk about all of these stories, but unfortunately we can't. Hopefully we can have you guys back again for another casino stories. Will you guys tell people where they can find you? Websites, social media, YouTube, that type of thing?
Go ahead, John. Okay. First.
Sign up for Heather. Sign up for Jay's YouTube channel. That's always fun. No, just do that. Sign up for these two guys. They're the best. Me, I don't have a YouTube presence, but yeah, these guys are the ones to sign up for.
Jay?
You can find me on, oh my God, there's a delay right now. Sorry. There's a delay on my computer, so you can find me on Casino Dealer J YouTube channel. Heather's on there as well. And I'm also on social media, so I do have an Instagram account, and TikTok account. But I've been showing a lot of chip tricks. We will kind of go through a few more tutorials. I'll be getting back at that after a few of our interviews. But also, John and I have our live streams every Wednesday. It's called Talking Craps, and it's all about casino industry talk. So
sweet. Very cool.
And Heather, you've been on a couple times, so it'd be nice to have you on a few more times. So you can catch Heather on there as well.
Appreciate that. And if you're watching, if you haven't already, check out their YouTube channels. I'll link it in the description below, so that way you can find them. They have really, really great videos, very funny stuff, always entertaining. So go check them out. And remember, we do a live stream or a video every Monday and Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So we look forward to seeing you on the next video day. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. And until then, this is Heather Ferris with Vegas Aces, reminding you that education can change the world. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.